All right, good morning. Looks like we are good to go. Just going to do a quick refresher, make sure it's showing up for you guys at home. But this is Paint with Lovejoy, our daily demo. And today's painting is going to be a cityscape. So I am going to be using brush and knife work. And we're going to do kind of the background, a sunset background, and then we'll be using brush and black paint to draw our cityscape on here. So, good morning. A few of you are jumping on. Awesome. How's it going, Mike and Jen? And it looks like we got a few other people. All right. So, a little bit of what you're looking at right now. This is what I call a regessoed or reused canvas. You can see some of the texture happening. Because I paint so many demos, I don't really want to have a huge pile of canvas in my house. So you can re-gesso, reapply white paint, or gesso's a little bit thicker, and then you can do a new painting on top of it. So that's where this texture comes from. So for today, I am using a knife, and I am on an 8x10 canvas. We're going to start with some yellow and white mixture for a lemony yellow, and we're going to do kind of a sunset kind of coming up, a little bit darker on the corners. Then we're going to use black paint to put our silhouette of our city on, and then we'll use a little bit of blue on top of our colors here to give an impression that we've got water hanging out. All right, so like I said, because I'm on a smaller canvas, I am using a smaller knife, but this is kind of the traditional palette knife shape, and you have kind of a long edge, a short edge, and then on the bigger one you do have a bit of a tip right there. But we're going to be doing a scraping method, and this is my style palette knife painting that I've done for my artwork pretty much for the last 15 years, and it is super stress relieving. So if you have anything, any anxiety, any frustration, anything that's pissed you off this week, which I'm sure there's plenty, scrape it into the painting, scrape it into the canvas, and we don't necessarily solve problems, but you at least feel a little bit better afterwards. So this is a very therapeutic process. So I am going to start with the light colors first and build my darker colors on top of it. So as you're painting at home, I just want you to observe where I'm placing the color and just mimic that to the best of your ability. You do not have to do exactly what I do on the canvas or what you see on the video. And with that being said, if you prefer one color more than what I'm using, or a completely different color from what I'm using, feel free, switch them up, and just use this video as a base for your painting process. But change it, make it your own, you have full permission to do that. So I am just kind of scraping this abstract yellow shape on there, and then we're going to build some of our colors on top of it and around it. And then we'll be taking black paint to do our outline on there. Awesome. A few more of you are jumping on. Good afternoon for where Ashley's at. It is still San Diego, so for me, so it is morning. But if you guys have any questions as we go along today, please leave a comment in the chat and I will address them on screen. All right, so now we've got kind of our nice lemony yellow color on here. I'm going to wipe the knife off, and now I'm going to start grabbing some of that direct yellow, and you can grab a good chunk of it, and I'm just going to kind of slap it in a few areas, and then I'll scrape it into that space a little bit. So we are kind of keeping in mind that I'm going to have my cityscape kind of curve a little bit right here. So anything from that curve down will be my water, my ocean area. And if you happen to make some of these spaces a little bit bigger than what I've scraped on there, that's okay. Because this particular style for me, for my regular artwork, I usually scrape about 100 layers of paint on my canvas before I consider it done. And if you would like to check out my portfolio in this style, jump on over to my main website, lovejoycreations.com, and check out the portfolio. And you'll see all kinds of wildlife painted in this palette knife style, and crazy, crazy colors. So definitely check it out. All right, so now I'm actually going to make kind of a sherbety orange color. So I'm going to pull some more of that white aside, a little bit of yellow, and then I'm going to add a touch of orange. And I'm going to start off adding a small amount of orange because because it is easier to add more pigment, but it's harder to go backwards. And again, just kind of going for a bit of a sherbety color. I'm going to make mine a little more intense so you guys can see it a little bit easier at home on the screen. So yeah, pretty good there. And then once you kind of get to the shade that you like, we're just going to take that and continue the scraping. And if you are using one of the larger knives, a lot of times I'll put my finger on the edge and it gives a little bit more resistance, a little bit more pressure, makes it a little bit easier. As many times as I have taught my palette knife class, I have seen people use the knives in ways that I never thought about using. So if your method ends up being a little bit different than what I'm doing, that's okay. Just embrace it. That happens to be your style. In art, there truly is no exact right or wrong way to create your painting. I tell all my students the only way to fail at painting is to not paint at all. So just the fact that you are attempting painting, going through the process, that makes you successful. Alright, so I'm actually going to make a little bit more of that color and then add some more orange, going a little bit more intense. If you've already gone pretty intense with your color, you can actually do this next step that I'm doing right here with just that direct orange. And I'm actually going to do that with mine because it's not dark enough. Alright, so skip that step. I'm going to grab just that direct orange, and just like when we added the yellow on there, scraping it on. Scrape your frustrations away. And for reusing a canvas, the re-gessoed canvas, I like it a lot for the knife texture because it already has some texture in there compared to a brand new canvas with a smooth surface. So if you do get into reusing and re-gessoing your canvases, they lend really, really well for a lot of palette knife work. Alright, let's go a little bit more over here. And right now you're pretty much an abstract painter, so don't overanalyze, don't do too many crazy things. And just have fun. Yeah, that's what we're here for. Alright, so just looking at the comments. Let's see. Ooh, raindrop. I will add that to the list for May. I think we're already moving into May for subject matters. But yeah, if you've got something that you want me to paint in the future, leave a comment or leave a comment in the chat or in the description box below or the chat below. Somewhere. I will find it. Alright, so now I'm actually going to grab, let's do a mixture of orange and red. And that red's pretty powerful, so a little bit of red goes a long way. And I'm going to add just a little bit of it so we have a bit more of a burnt orange. There we go, a little bit darker. And if you are painting on a stretched canvas like this, I do recommend that you carry your color over the tops, the side, and the bottom. Just looks really nice when you hang it on the wall, having that color wrap around the edge. Again, I'm going to make some more. And I forgot to mention, if you're holding your breath, please breathe. It is not to your benefit to hold your breath when you're painting. It's really not to your benefit to hold your breath ever, unless you're underwater and you have to. But remember, when we're doing new things, remember to breathe and be kind to yourself, because you're generally doing a lot better than you may be giving yourself credit for. And even just the sound of this scraping method is very relaxing, so kind of get lost into it. Hopefully you guys can hear it through the microphone. Alright, let's see, we've got a rainy day suggestion. I will add that one on there as well. I think somebody else suggested that too, and I think I forgot to put it on the list, so if you did suggest it earlier, I apologize. But if you do suggest something in any of these videos and I forget to put it on the list, please just remind me. I am a solo show, producing, creating, making all of this stuff, so I try to remember what I can. Alright, so before we move into some other colors, I'm actually going to go back to the yellow. I want to kind of tone this down a little bit and scrape some of that on top of our other colors. So with this palette knife scraping style, you can go back and forth with colors and scrape unexpected colors on top of each other, And then because of the transparency, you kind of change the shade on the canvas. So it's a lot of fun. Your brain ends up taking in a lot of information as you're observing these color changes, as you're observing what color one color looks like next to another, as you're observing how you're changing it. So no matter what you are doing, be kind to yourself if you are in your beginning stages. Oh, you did. Okay, thanks, Jen. Sorry, I remembered somebody else had mentioned the rainy day, so like I said, don't hesitate to remind me if I forget something. All right, so now I'm grabbing that direct red and kind of putting it on the edges. I kind of like that we have a nice center glowing area here, and then it gets a little bit darker as we reach towards the edges of the canvas. If you feel like recreating this and using shades of blue, you could do light blue here, a little bit darker, and then darker blue as you get out. Like I said, you can switch and do any colors that you want. And just nice to kind of scrape away any frustrations, any irritations, any work from home problems. If you have kids and you've been trying to do the work at home, teaching, educating, and taking care of the house, wow, awesome. I'm grateful it is just me and I don't have kids that I have to take care of. I'll help my friends take care of their kids. But everybody's doing a great job no matter what amount of issues, things to deal with are on your plate. Everybody's handling them. Everybody's got something to deal with. So, much love to everybody, because it is frustrating some days. All right, so once you are kind of happy with where your background is, we're going to move on to brushwork, and we're going to put our black silhouette of our city on here. And like I said, you can Google, I'm going to do San Diego since that's where I live, but you can Google your city name plus silhouette or city name plus window decal. And what you're looking for is basically just a black outline that you can reference for the shape and what the skyline of the city that you want to do looks like. Or you can just make kind of a generic city line we're going to be making rectangles and triangles, and we will put a few little palm trees on here. All right, so to get our kind of horizon line, our skyline on here, and it is going to be kind of an arced curve, you know. So I'm going to, at the right-hand side, go up maybe about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and I want you to put a line. Then we're going to go to the other side. I want you to go up about 1.5 inches, 2 inches again, make another line. Then we're actually going to do a frown. We're going to do an upside down smile. So I want you to just start on the left-hand side, medium pressure, pull it across, curve it back down to meet the other line. And if you do get some of this texture coming through, just reapply your black paint. And if you need to, a touch of water will help the fluidity of your paint, but you never want your brush dripping wet with water. If that does happen, that water droplet's going to cut right back to the canvas because we are using water-based acrylic paint. And you can fix it, you just have to apply more paint and put it on a little bit thicker. Okay, so from here down will be our water, and we'll add that in a moment. That's what our blue will be for. But now we're actually going to start putting our skyline on here. And we're going to be creating rectangles for our building. You're going back to being 5 years old, and then maybe a triangle for the top. And I am looking at a silhouette of San Diego, so I'm going to try to mimic that. And I'm going to start in the middle. It looks like that's the Hyatt building. And it's a pretty tall building, so I'm going to have my center one be the highest, and then it'll curve down and kind of curve on the edges, but I do want the center to be one of the higher buildings. So I'm going to trace a line for the top of my building. We are going to put a triangle on top of here, so don't go too far to the top. I am leaving probably about 3 inches of space from the top of the canvas for where that line I put. And don't worry about these being perfect lines right now. You're going to go back and fill them in. And if you find that you are shaky as you are making these lines, I want you to exhale as your brush touches the canvas, and that will make you a little less shaky. Now we're going to add our triangle up here, giving it a bit of a flat top because it is consistent with what that Hyatt building looks like. Going to clean up the edge. And like I said, I do recommend that you let your background fully dry before you move into doing the black paint. So if that means you just pause the video while your paint's drying and then pick it back up, that's totally okay. Alright, so I'm going to go towards the left, and I actually don't remember all the buildings in downtown San Diego, so I'm just going to be looking at the shapes. And because I live outside of downtown, I don't know what all the buildings are or what is housed in them. So I did kind of a top. We give it a little curved edge. And again, since we are on a curve, these aren't going exactly flat down. They are angled a little bit. Remember to breathe. And this one has like a little rectangle on top. Just going to go ahead and fill that in. That made it a little bit easier. And as you're using your brush, if you treat your brush kind of like a pencil and just use the tip of it, it does make it a little bit easier for making some of your smaller lines, and it's good practice. So as I'm looking to the left, there's another small building here, and then another tall one, and it looks similar size as the other one. And again, I'm doing my buildings on a curve, so they're not completely going straight down. They are angled as they're working with this curve. And they'll angle the other direction on the right-hand side. Let's see, and this one's got a huge triangle on top of it for the roof, and it doesn't fully go to the edge. Let me go ahead and just fill that in since that already happened. Alright, we've got another little building here. And again, as you do this and you're looking at your silhouette design or you're copying what I'm doing on screen, you're strengthening your power of observation. And that is a big part of the art world. Learning to look at something, break it down and assess it, and then turn it into your form or your expression. So be very kind to yourself as you are in the beginning stages of painting. Get one more small little building in here. And you'll also notice that more pressure, let's do it here in the center one, I'm going to fill this in. So if you do light pressure, you get a skinnier line. More pressure, you're going to get a much fatter line. So play with that as you are doing this, and the more that you practice, the more you'll get comfortable with that pressure. So kind of like an athlete has to practice, their muscles remember things. As you paint and practice, your muscles are also remembering things. So it is one of those that the more that you do it, the more you understand and the easier it becomes. Okay, so now I'm going to go back up to that center, work my way towards the right-hand side. And I think we'll put a few little palm trees. I think I've got a little palm tree going on the edge right there. All right. Let's see. This one's kind of an interesting shaped building, so I'm going to go with kind of a main big rectangle, and then we're going to add some stuff on top of it. And it is a little bit lower, and again it's starting to curve towards this direction, towards the right hand side. And then this one has a couple of smaller rectangles on top of it. And it's got a little offshoot. Just going to widen that up. And if you want to, you can go ahead and start filling that in. Go ahead and just do that so you can see the difference. And if you're getting to the point where you get more frustrated with the brush, especially if you're a beginner painter and it's hard to make some of those really small lines, you can let your paint fully dry, and then you can apply the small details with a Sharpie marker. If you have a bit of texture on your canvas, you'll have to compensate a little bit with the marker, but generally the Sharpie marker will go right on top of your acrylic paint. All right, looks like we've got another little something here that's not too wide. And then a few more smaller rectangles, and these will very quickly get up a bit more of a staggered effect. And again, we're on this arc, so we're not fully perpendicular to the sides of the canvas. Let's see, another little one. And you do not have to paint nearly as fast as I am painting. I am keeping these as a 30-minute demo, but if it takes you a little bit longer, that's okay. That's why you can pause the video. All right. So now, once you kind of have your cityscape on there, we're going to go back in and fill in all these areas. Then we're going to put some water down here. And then if we have time, we'll go back in and put little lights in the building. And if you want to keep some of the reflecting light in the back, we do this here on the Hyatt building, we can leave that background in there. So we're going to do a little light, and that little square right there, we're going to leave it with that background color shining through. So if you want to do that in a few other areas of your building before you fill them in, go right ahead and do that. So here, I'm basically creating little boxes that I will not fill in. Whoops, fix that one. And it might get kind of confusing sometimes, so don't stress out if you end up covering up a window that you didn't want to cover. It's just part of it. And the space that you're leaving, like this little window up there, this is called the negative space, since we're filling in the positive space around it. So giving you guys some art terms that you can throw around, and if you need to, Google them, look them up, learn more, continue your own learning and your own exploration. And we've kind of restructured the Hyatt building. Please don't tell them that I changed their design, unless they like it for the better. But yeah, so leaving some of these spaces, you can adjust the design of your city by allowing some of the colors to shine through. If you filled them in like this guy and these other ones, when it dries, you can go back in with your yellow and white paint and just do little squares or little dots on there to give the indication that you've got windows on your city. All right. So just checking comments real quick. And Janet made a comment that one day she's going to drink her paint water instead of iced coffee. And yes, that struggle is real. It happens often. But generally, you only do drink your paint water once, and then you remember. A lot of times you can smell it before you get to the drinking part. But if you do that, laugh at yourself a little bit, call yourself out, keep on painting, and just know that you're not the only one that has gone through that. All right, so I'm going to leave a few more squared windows here. We might actually go a little past the 30-minute mark, but that's okay. And even if you're painting a fantasy city, not even a real cityscape line, make the city what you want. You know, name it after you. But have fun with this. Create your own little world. Again, remember to breathe. I think I just realized I was holding my breath. And again, this is just painting, so don't take yourself too seriously. Have fun. If you end up putting something where you didn't want it, Bob Ross coined the term beautifully, and I love it. Turn it into a happy accident. And just embrace it. Alright. good, and I kind of zone out. Alright, so we kind of got that left-hand side. And if you do have any spaces where you can see the canvas or the yellow coming through, just go back and apply more black paint. It does look nice. And then remember, as you are painting, and especially as you're getting to kind of the concluding stages of your painting, I want you to prop your painting up, get out of your chair, look at it from a distance, and then assess. Because a lot of times from that distance, that's more of the normal viewing distance for artwork, and it is going to look entirely different from that distance compared to 2 feet in front of your face. So again, as you get in the groove of painting, you got to kind of trick your brain every now and then and look at it from a new perspective. And by getting out of your chair and looking at it from the distance, gives you that. Alright, these other two I'm just going to fill in. Again, make your cityscape what you want it. And if you want to put birds in the sky or a little helicopter landing somewhere, go right ahead and do that. Oh, and for San Diego, let me actually do one tiny little palm tree here. So we're doing kind of the tree trunk. And then I'm not going to do the leaves, but we're just going to do the palm fronds. So usually start with the first two. Okay, so let me give a few little palm tree over here. This one can be out in the distance. Very fluffy palm tree, there we go. Alright, again, just has to be the illusion, does not have to be every single detail when you're doing a silhouette. Alright, so we're going to clean the brush, and I'm going to give you 2 options for what you can do for your water. First option is you can use the brush, and we're going to use blue paint, and using kind of light pressure, we're just going to kind of overlap. We are not filling in the space, and you're imagining each one of these lines is like a ripple of water. So it can kind of curve a little bit. They can overlap each other. If you feel like moving back into, the palette knife, you can do the same thing. And a lot of times I like to grab it on the edge. You know, this keeps you with a bit more straight lines, but just different options. Try using your knife in different ways. If you want to kind of scrape it and pull it along, go for it. I kind of like the bit more wavy one, so I'm going to go back to the brush, but you've got options. Make it whatever you want for how you're feeling right now. And if you paint this painting again, and maybe you're feeling a different option on that day, go with that. It is nice to paint every day. That's why I'm really grateful you guys are hanging out with me every day at 11. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me accountable for doing this. And it's just nice to have good support. So find your ways that you can paint on a daily basis, or at least weekly, or at the very least on a monthly basis. With the craziness of the world right now, we need as many ways as we can to relieve our stress, deal with our circumstances, and find new ways to move forward. And painting's really good at just kind of getting you out of your head so you're not overthinking so much. And a lot of times when we stop thinking and do something different, our brain works out solutions to what we may have been dealing with prior. Alright, so as we're doing these, and if you are painting the edges of your canvas, continue those blue lines over the edge. So again, it kind of gives us the illusion that we have a wider space, more things happening than what has been captured on the canvas. And notice how I am overlapping the lines, and I am bringing this blue right up next to the black arc that we put on there to begin with, because we are imagining that our water is coming right up next to the port or the boardwalk of the city. All right, and we got one other option here too. I'm going to make a lighter blue. So I'm keeping the blue that's on my brush, mixing it with the white, going for a lighter blue. Now we don't want to fully cover everything because I really like having this yellow shine through because it's almost as if it's reflecting the sky. If you feel like doing a reflection of your building, you can do this with black paint as it comes down. I kind of want a bit more water showing in mine. So same thing, I've got the light medium blue or light blue, and just kind of going over it, giving it one more value, but allowing the underneath colors to still be there. At the end, if you want, you could do pure white and put it where the sun would be reflecting on the water. And just have fun. You're an adult kindergartner right now. The only adult part is your age. Otherwise, you are 5 years old right now. And even if that just makes you laugh, that's why I say it. Don't take yourself too seriously. There's many other places to be serious in life, and art is not one of them. Art is your place to escape the seriousness of life. All right. So if you filled in your entire building up there, I'm going to clean my brush and I'll do a few more. But if you filled in your entire building, but you realize that maybe you want some lights coming through, you can do this with either straight yellow, straight white, or you can do a mixture of the two. I'm going to do it with the straight yellow just so it's a little bit more bold and as if it's illuminated from within. You do want your black paint to be fully dry so that way it doesn't mix. And literally you're just going to add your little light sources on your building. And again, my black paint is still a little wet, so it is mixing a little bit, so let your paint dry before you go in to add your details on your building. I'll do a few with white just so you can see the difference. And if you are mimicking a building that is in your city or your favorite city, I am aware that some of the buildings in downtowns are lighting up their windows with specific colors and specific designs. Feel free to bring that into your painting. Just makes it kind of cool and unique for the current circumstances. And no matter what you paint today, whether you change it, whether you do something different, whether you actually paint from a different instructor, please send me pictures of what you paint. Those are still my absolute favorite emails to receive in the morning when I'm drinking my coffee. And it's just nice to know that you guys are painting at home and sharing it. So email those to me, paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com, or tag me in social media posts, @ or hashtag paintwithlovejoy. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. We are doing daily demos at 11 o'clock every day. So feel free to join on and catch it live or catch the replay. And then jump over to my main website, paintwithlovejoy.com. I have monthly classes on there, free classes, my signature Paint Your Pet classes on there, my other popular palette knife classes on there, to where you'll get even more involved with some of the scraping of the layers. And I do make you draw a little bit, but it is for a good cause. But keep your creativity going. I am currently working on about 4 other videos for intermediate and advanced beginners, but my channel is geared towards first-time beginner painters, so I will be keeping them mainly for that genre. Alright, so like I said, if you want to add any birds in the sky, if you want to put a yacht or a sailboat near water, feel free to switch it up and make it your own. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. This is becoming a very, very nice regular thing, and I like seeing more and more people that are checking it out. But yeah, makes for a good community, so thank you. So until tomorrow, I hope everybody has a great day, and I will catch you then. So take care. Cheers.